This is my buddy Raven. What do you say, pal?
Today, a very special edition of Minnesota Bound. We look back at the legacy of the real star of the show, Raven. The Black Lab made Minnesota Bound what it is. Today we celebrate the lives of all three dogs and look at their impact on Minnesota and the outdoors.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota's select GMC dealers.
Hey everybody, Laura and I welcome you to Minnesota Bound. Now, due to everything going on currently with the virus, Laura and I are trying to introduce our stories separately, at least for the time being.
Most people now know that our family Black Lab Raven passed away at 13 and a half years old. She became iconic in Minnesota's outdoor circles, but the question is, just how did that happen?
Now here's your host, outdoor columnist for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, Ron Schara, and his dog Raven.
All legacies start with a single moment.
Pretty good. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to my place. Come on,
This
Raven.
was
Get in your corner.
Raven's.
Time to start the show. Get in your corner, girl. Atta girl.
The very first Minnesota Bound, February of 1995. Ron Schara's Black Lab joined him on TV. The idea of Ron's wife.
It was my idea to put Raven in this shot. It just went with the picture.
Raven and I are taking a little hike.
A most humble start to much bigger days ahead.
What do you say, Raven? Is this traveling or what, huh? Even you get to see where we're going.
Ron and Raven hit the road. The duo defined Minnesota Bound.
I'm Ron Schara. This is my buddy Raven. What do you say, pal? Oh, you want to shake hands, do you?
Raven, the affable black Labrador retriever, an instant television star, but really a dog born to hunt. Raven had plenty of pedigree afield. Now, much of the credit goes to her owner.
Where is it? Huh?
But also to Raven's longtime trainer, Tom Dockin.
Ron and Raven, had that intimate connection. You can just see that she knew what he wanted and he knew what she was up to at any time without even any spoken words being there.
So let's change this topic.
The dog excelled. People loved her. Soon enough, the star of the show
Raven and I love a snack.
became the star of Enterprise, too.
Jiffy Pop. Come and get it before Raven does.
Special. Yes, Raven was.
Okay, fine. But I'm driving this time.
Guests jammed State Fair bleachers just to catch a peek of the Black Lab. And yes, Ron too.
Raven's definitely the best.
Raven!
Sorry, Ron.
The Raven phenomenon, is, I feel anyways, has been that connection to what they feel about their own dog and having that dog on stage. I love to just watch how those two interact. They got to be super social. I mean, people are coming up and petting her and grabbing her, and kids are there, so it takes a special kind of dog to do that.
Remember, you introduce a kid to the great outdoors.
I really can't think of on a national basis too, let alone Minnesota, where a dog with a red bandana or a dog in general has been associated with a state. And she has.
We interrupt this segment of Minnesota Bound to bring you a special announcement about Ravens.
Exactly why a 1998 announcement sent Minnesota Bound fans into a tizzy.
Ron, fantastic news. We just finished the ultrasound and she is pregnant.
Pregnant?
Yeah.
All right.
Raven would soon become a mom, and someone could win her pups. Ron received more than 6,000 requests.
I'm Ron Schara, my buddy Raven.
All stories come with chapters.
Atta girl. Let's go home.
So it was with an aging Raven.
Unfortunately, we outlive all of these dogs. those tears are going to flow. They are. You share stuff with them and times with them that nobody else will.
Raven's story could not end. She passed her stardom on to one of her pups. Raven number 2 became Ron's sidekick. Eventually, 2 had a litter of her own that included Raven number 3.
You could say it's about fishing.
3 generations of black labs that would change Minnesota's outdoor landscape. A legacy created by chance, by an outdoor writer who hoped a television story or 2 or 3 might melt hearts.
Aren't you even going to tell me?
Instead, Ron gave us all Raven, the doggone star of the show forever.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Minnesota Select GMC dealers, Connecticut, Minnesota DNR, and by Radco Truck Accessories.
Welcome back to the show as we celebrate the life of Raven the Black Lab. She had quite the impact on our audience, but she also had a greater impact on Minnesota's wild landscape. My dad explains.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Schara, and this is Raven.
It was Jonathan Swift who once said, "Every dog must have his day." If that's the case, then Raven has had her day and then some.
What would you think, Raven?
Since her television debut on Minnesota Bound in May of 1995, Raven not only graced Carol Evans' network TV waves, but also several national networks. At one time, this showbiz black lab was seen on 5 different television show productions. There was Minnesota Bound, of course.
Well, hi, everybody.
But also Call of the Wild.
As Backroads continues...
Backroads with Ron and Raven. Pheasants Forever television, which later became The Flush. Not to mention, Raven has graced the covers of books, including the Minnesota Fishing Guide and Ron Schara's Minnesota Bound collection of stories. There's even a plush toy Raven. Yes, Raven has had her day for 3 generations over 2 decades of television shows. And you, the viewer, have been with Raven every step of the way. Such as when the first Raven had puppies in 1998. You were there.
Yeah. This is the first one born.
You were there for bumps in the road when Raven 3 went in for a checkup and found she needed knee surgery. Regardless, Raven's tail never stopped wagging. And when the Raven legacy took on a conservation achievement to raise money for a wildlife area, you showed up. You showed up big time. When it comes to conservation, Raven's legacy has been the star of the show for Pheasants Forever. When the original Raven became pregnant in 1998, a TV campaign to raise donations to acquire wildlife land was set up. It went like this. I knew the Raven puppies would be highly sought after, so we gave all viewers a free chance to sign up to adopt one of Raven's puppies. In return, viewers could voluntarily make a contribution to Raven's Prairie Heritage Fund. The campaign's success surprised everyone. More than 6,000 people signed up to adopt the puppy, and they donated more than $25,000 to Raven's fund.
And now Raven and Carol Evans have teamed up with...
Next, the folks at Gander Mountain volunteered to give $5 for every plush Raven puppy sold at their stores. They sold 10,000 plush puppies and wrote a check to Pheasants Forever for $50,000. Pheasants Forever matched Raven's dollars twice, resulting in more than $250,000 for a wildlife land acquisition. In 1999, Raven and I were invited to a dedication ceremony for a new 700-acre wildlife area known as the Two Rivers Wildlife Management Area in southern Minnesota. It was acquired with help from Raven's Fund. But it didn't stop there. In 2005, Raven and Pheasants Forever launched a new fundraiser called Help Raven Build a Wildlife Area. In the first 6 months, $175,000 worth of puppies had been sold, and when the campaign was complete, when all the plush puppies were sold, Raven helped raise close to $400,000 for Pheasants Forever to help build a wildlife area. With the matching by federal and state grants, the first 2 ravens helped raise nearly $1 million. It's a wild place forever, thanks in part to a doggone TV star. Raven even has equal billing when it comes to state of Minnesota proclamations. On May 13, 2004, Governor of Minnesota Tim Pawlenty proclaimed it the Ron Schara and Raven and Minnesota Bound Day. After 25 years of television, I've shared a hay bale with a black lab. Take it from this TV guy, and I'm making no bones about it. The star of the show, always, always, will be Raven.
Coming up, we hear from the people who spent the most time around Raven, the Schara family.
Closed captioning brought to you by Alumacraft Boats.
Today we celebrate the life of Raven the Black Lab. Up next, the Schara family takes time to reflect on the star of the show and, more importantly, the family dog.
Black Labs have been part of our family for decades.
We are a lab family because of Ron's love of hunting. Then along came Raven, and she was our puppy when the show was launched.
Never in our wildest dreams did we think our black lab wearing a bandana would become part of Minnesota history, all due to my mom's last-minute suggestion.
I think a lot of people thought Raven was just a prop for the TV show. But she was a wonderful family dog.
Yes, to us, Raven was a family dog first, a hunting buddy second, and a TV superstar third. But in her eyes, she may have reversed that order.
It was all 3 ravens. They became very accustomed to seeing the camera crew, and when I put on that red bandana, they knew what was going on.
And just like all of us, a job is still a job.
I would give this perfect line on the show, and the camera guy would say, "You gotta do it again." Why? Raven yawned, so.
Bored on occasion maybe, but she loved her role of bringing smiles to so many. We were always in awe of her star power.
A lot of people say, what's it like having Ron Schara as your dad? What's it like having Raven in the family? To me, it's my dad, and she's our family dog, just like everyone else's family dog.
You know, I've always asked myself, what is it about Raven that so many people adore or gravitate to? I wish I could answer that question, because if I could bottle it and sell it, I'd be rich.
Can't bottle and sell fame, yet we can't lie either. There were occasional benefits to owning a famous dog.
Raven saved me from getting a speeding ticket. And the police officer stopped me, and when he brought my driver's license back, he looked in the back and there was Raven. He said, "Is that Raven from Minnesota Bound?" And I said, "It sure is." He says, "She's a great dog and I love the show. Lady, a little lighter on the pedal next time."
It was never her celebrity status that meant the most to us. Rather, it was our time spent with her, away from the cameras.
Grandpa introduced me to baseball, and at a young age we'd go in the backyard and Raven would be our outfielder. and go retrieve them and stuff like that and bring them right back to Grandpa.
And just like every family that owns a special dog, the day comes when you have to say goodbye.
Every dog from a child on up, when you lose your first pet, it never gets any easier. But those years that they warm your heart are forever. And she was just touched a lot of homes, and we were so blessed, so blessed.
Raven was our family dog, and so she loved all of you when you were here. But most of all, she loved Ron.
We all have this pain when we lose a family pet like that, and mine is no more than theirs. And that's important for me that people understand that I'm not asking for any more sympathy than anybody else might in this situation.
Atta girl.
Rest in pheasant paradise, sweet Raven. Memories of your perky ears, wet kisses, and tail wags will live in our hearts forever.
Raven was a pretty special outdoor ambassador. Now, we have a lot more memories of the dog to share with you. If you'd like to check them out, be sure to head to the Minnesota Bound Facebook page.
Still ahead, poignant thoughts from Raven's very best friend, Ron Schara.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Hewitt Docks, Lifts, and Pontoon Legs, and by Totem Resorts, the premier destination for world-class fishing.
Yes, Raven was the star of the show, but truth be told, it was my dad who made it all happen. It's time for Ron to take a few minutes to reflect on how he created television magic, an unbreakable bond between a hunter and his hunting buddy.
I'm Ron Schara, and the star of the show, the star of the show, the star of the show here, star of the show, who's acting a little nervous now, is Raven. Want to be petted? Yes, I know, that's what it is.
And so, the Raven story ends. The star of the show, Raven III, has left her hay bale. She went quietly and peacefully in the night while Indian flute music played as the light faded from her eyes. She was an old dog, almost 14 years of age, who outlived her grandmother and her mother. It's been said you only get one good dog in your life. Not true. I've had many wonderful dogs, including 3 Ravens who excelled at rousting ringnecks on camera, from Kansas to Minnesota. Noted author Gene Hill once wrote, "While it's important to have a good dog to hunt over, it's more important to have a good dog to be with." All of the Ravens fit both categories. All were special to me. The Ravens also were special to you. Wherever she appeared, you could not resist a pet on the head, and she could not resist a wag of her tail. It was a phenomenon, and I can't explain it to this day. As I grieve my own loss, I don't pretend to speak for the joy and sorrow over your own canine companions, past and present, except to say we share the emotions, the joy of a puppy, the heartache of losing a family member. Life without Raven will go on as it must. Will I get another Labrador Retriever in the future? It's doubtful, but maybe. As someone once said, dogs leave paw prints on your heart, and so the sadness subsides, leaving the good times behind. As I reflect about Raven and me, the most honest reflection was offered by Mark Twain. "Heaven goes by favor," he wrote. "If it went by merit, you would stay out. Your dog would go in.
You know, as they say, you can tell the goodness in a man by the way his dog loves him. I can tell you, Raven adored my dad more than anything. Don't forget to tune in to the Minnesota Bound podcast. Ron shares more of his favorite memories with Raven this week. Well, that does it for us. Until next week, introduce a kid to the great outdoors.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433.